Formative Assessment in Action, featuring California educators using rubrics to improve student writing. www.cda.gov/ta/TG/SA/FAinAction.ASP.
Hi, so I'm Christina Lambie. I'm the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning here in the Woodland Joint Unified School District. I've been a member of the State Network of Educators since 2014. And one of the things I've done is created some resources that really focus on using the formative assessment process within the classroom. In my district, we use the interim assessments provided by Smarter Balanced often in the non-standardized way. So often we will see partners working in the assessment together. They might be logged in and they're having a discussion about the problem that they're working on, or they're composing a piece of writing together. That's really the power of the non-standardized way of administering these interim assessments, is that teachers have a lot of flexibility in how to go about doing that. You don't have to give your students all of the assessment items. You can focus on one. Okay, so can someone look up here and read to me what our learning goal is for this morning? Who can read this for me? Yes, please.
We are learning to revise our writing by using a rubric with a partner.
Thank you. And how about the success criteria?
We will know we can do this when we can review our partner's writing and share effective feedback, revise our writing to address all aspects of the rubric.
Thank you. The students are preparing to take the Smarter Balanced assessment in the upcoming weeks. And so they're really focused on addressing all of those areas of the prompt, and the rubric helps them to do that. Okay, so let's look at our task for today.
This video uses a Smarter Balanced sample item.
Can someone read to me the directions for the prompt? Yes.
Directions. A student is writing a narrative for class about a boy helping his mother. Read the draft paragraphs from the narrative and complete the task that follows.
Okay, so class, remember what we've talked about with narrative writing. This piece that we're looking at on the prompt is narrative writing, and what we're going to have to do is write an introduction for it. And so keeping in mind some of these characteristics, what do you see in this piece of writing so far? What are some things that jump out at you? What do you notice? Yeah.
That Andy wanted to play football instead of help his mom.
He wanted to play football instead of help his mom. And so what does that mean? What is that in the story? Is that a conflict maybe with him? Yeah. So that might be something we want to consider when we're working on our piece of writing.
There's a lot of details, like it says he and his mom had spent the morning cutting and dicing onions, celery, and green beans.
Yeah, there's a lot of details. It really, something I like to say is it kind of makes a picture in your mind, right? You can really visualize what's going on with those sensory details. Once we've looked at the prompt, then they look at the rubric. So once they have highlighted the parts on the rubric that they really need to focus on, we have a discussion as a class about those pieces of the rubric. What else? Who else has something? Taggart, what did you highlight on your rubric?
Introduction, the characters.
The characters. And so what do we need to do with the characters? Yeah.
We'll make sure we introduce them into the story.
Right. So you're going to have to figure out how to introduce the character that we have. After they have highlighted those areas and we've had a class discussion about the expectations, then the students actually get into their writing. they have the rubric next to them as they're doing the writing, and that's important for them to have that reference point as they're getting into the piece. And what you'll see is lots of students are going back and forth between the rubric and their piece of writing so that they can ensure that they're meeting all those key points. And then as you're doing that, under this rubric, there's a section called reflection. So you're going to maybe write a sentence that says why you gave yourself a 1 or a 2. I don't think, from what I've seen, I don't think anybody in here has a 0. I think you all have really done a great job of addressing the prompt. After they've been working on their writing for a few minutes, then they engage with their partner in a discussion about how they've addressed the prompt. And the partners give them feedback about their piece of writing. So let's trade. And then you'll have an opportunity to do a little bit more work on it once you've had that discussion with your partner. So again, you are reading your partner's writing and you're looking, with a critical eye, but you're thinking about giving feedback to your partner to improve their piece of writing.
When Andy was sad, you could say like Andy got sad, that he could place both that.
And Andy was like disappointed.
Disappointed would be good word, yeah.
Said, okay, you did describe him, but like, where is he coming from? Like, you just like started writing to his mother was talking. Just do a little background of like what's going on.
So I could say Andy was so excited that he had his game.
Yeah, but then he shouted. Yeah.
Okay.
Just bring it to like we were getting ready.
I'll go first. Okay. You did very good. I think you could add a little bit more feelings, like exclamation marks, But overall, it is very good. It is a very good writing, and it flows with the other half. So I give you a 2.
Okay. I said I love it. I just think you need to be a little more descriptive about what the problem is.
Yeah.
And like once you reword it, a few things will be perfect. 2.
First person.
Okay. And so now what, you can just go back and make some revisions?
Yeah.
Now that you know?
No, yeah. And I accidentally spelled Florida wrong, but
Oh, well, what's on is
scared.
spelling on the rubric? Something that students are much more familiar with in reviewing a piece of writing is looking for spelling and grammatical errors. In this case, it's much more about the content of the ideas, and as long as the writing is legible and understandable by the reader or the audience, then that's what we need to focus on. Another key piece of the formative assessment process is acting on evidence. And as the teacher, I'm walking around, I'm circulating around the room, I'm engaging with the pairs of students as they're having those conversations, and I'm noticing if students are having difficulty. I'm able to provide suggestions and then ask questions to the partners if they're struggling with some aspect of what we're doing. And what are you thinking about when you're thinking about giving him feedback?
Well, I think he's I liked how his mom I put on mine, I put how he broke it in the day, what day it was, and he had just said that he was coming down from his room he had to take his football gear off.
Okay, so he approached it a different way. Yeah, but maybe some details. The partners then take that feedback and their piece of writing and how they've scored themselves on the rubric, and they go back in. So we know that writing needs to be an iterative process, and you might need multiple opportunities in order to go back and revise. And so this is taking all of the discussion that we've been engaging in with partners, the work with the rubric, and the understanding of the key features of narrative writing, and then going back in to ensure that we've met all of the criteria on the rubric. At the end of the lesson, then, we ask the students to share how using the rubric and having that discussion really assisted them as they went through the activity.
It had been one long week since Andy's mom broke her wrist. She couldn't do much, and Andy had been helping around the house a lot. His dad had been away at work, so Andy really had to lend a hand. On top of his regular chores, he also had to assist his mom with all the things she usually did on her own. All the work Andy had been doing exhausted him. Saturday had finally come, and Andy was happy to be going to play. All his friends were playing touch football. Andy had already chopped veggies with his mom earlier in the day, so he was ready to go. As he put on his shoes, he heard his mom's familiar call, "Andy, I need your help." "Okay," he said reluctantly. "We are going to put all the veggies from this morning into a bowl of soup," his mom said. He was really hoping to play ball, but knew he should help his mom.
What could you say about her piece of writing?
Yeah. She brought action into it by the dialogue.
She used dialogue, definitely.
It was descriptive.
It was really descriptive. Okay. Will you share your piece of writing? Thanks.
It was 1 week from the accident with Andy's mom's wrist. Andy wanted to play with his friends, but he knew he had to help his mom around the house and with the soup. Andy didn't feel like helping until his mom said, "I'm making soup, do you want to help?" Andy had just finished doing laundry but didn't want to let down his mom. "Sure, I'll help you with the soup. I'll get the pot," Andy's mom said. "I'll get the veggies," Andy said. "Thank you," Andy's mom said. Andy put the pot on the stove.
Awesome. And so then next, Andy stirred the large pot of soup. So you can see that flow that we've talked about, right? Where your introduction really needs to go right into the beginning of this. It's really important for students to have that opportunity to work together to solve a problem so that when they get to the summative assessment at the end of the year, they're better prepared to do that work on their own.